Well, I've learnt over the years how to explode into a picture. I've watched sportsmen. I've been a great admirer and supporter of speedway racing, which explodes over 1 minute. I've got to hit you full on with power from the images. So therefore, yes, the way the dockers are posed, the way they're lit, is to give them immense power. And it's like a whirlwind of thought patterns and activity that lasts over just a few minutes, really, then finishes.
Come on. It's a beautiful night for a walk on the beach, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would say that. I would say that.
Let me start off with a basket of chips. Then move on to the pollo asada taco. I would like 2 pollo asada tacos with 1 beef chimichanga. On the chimichanga, I would like a side of sour cream. I like tomatoes and onions on my quesadilla. For dessert, I would like the sopiflas. I would like extra cinnamon. Do make guacamole. Yes, do make guacamole.
Well, this is our first venture out to our future location. We're going to the container port at Fos-sur-Mer. A surreptitious quick look, I suppose, before the first working day, which is tomorrow, and see what the place is like. We can just soak up the atmosphere of the container port. Marseille Provence 2013 contacted me after seeing my work in the Oil Photo Festival in 2009. Big files. I heard on the grapevine that they were very interested in me, especially after seeing the work I'd done on the St Pancras railway station. I think it's in there. And they contacted me in 2010, where they met up with me in Paris during my Black Country exhibition, and then outlined the project they'd got in mind for me to do. It's very good, isn't it? I think this is a black and white shot.
I quite like it without the big shadows.
What happens is that there's a really big exhibition in the harbour of Marseille, and they're going to demonstrate the complete history of the Mediterranean. And what they want me to do is to finish off this history from the ancient Greeks to Brian Griffin, ancient Brian Griffin, where I demonstrate what has happened to the ports in the Mediterranean, that really now there's no people involved, well, hardly any people involved. It's all automated, and most of the products that come shipped in and are shipped out in these containers.
This is quite a nice one as well, actually. It's got quite good light on it, hasn't it? I'm like, just look at them as buildings, really, as skyscrapers almost. A deserted town of steel. And I'm starting to think conceptually as well about it, how this town of steel can fit as individual shots between portraits that we'll do and light beautifully, like religious effigies or whatever. It's just, it's like a city, you know, it's like a modern city of steel. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the surrealists would have loved it. They would have loved it around here. I can imagine even Dali liking it, certainly Magritte. It's just a big steel city.
With the dockers, it looks like eventually, as a job, being a docker will not exist anymore. As we drive around and walk around this big major world port, or whatever, the port of France, the southern port of France, we see very few people. We try and imagine people existing. We see a truck drive past, we see a crane pick up stuff, we see a straddler take a container towards the ship, and we assume people are inside them. I mean, they are inside them at the moment, but they won't be eventually.
Le syndicat est né en 1902. Au travers des années, à différentes époques, le fait d'adhérer massivement à ce syndicat a fait beaucoup d'avancées en termes de salaire, de conditions de travail, de sécurité. Ça, si on en est là aujourd'hui, c'est grâce à notre syndicat. Et le syndicat est toujours là pour arrondir les angles et nous défendre et nous protéger.
Your position, Lucien. So do you want me to...
When we come to do these portraits, we hope to show something of the environment where these people work. So constantly we're placing them.
It's just keeping the shadow of the sea stand off.
Rather than doing them against an infinity background or something, where they could be anywhere.
I have to watch the bottom shadow.
Then we have to like create a bit of atmosphere behind them in terms of underexposing the daylight.
Oh yeah, that's good. You shouldn't just do that. Just do. Oh, you're looking at me. Oh, you're looking at me now. Yeah. No, you're not the same really. You were really
and creating exposure, keeping that daylight dark, so our lights are just a little bit brighter than the daylight.
And head raised a little bit more, prouder. Yeah.
So we have a camera that will kill the daylight, and we can use flash with it.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Oh, stay there, Christian. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, okay.
I like them really from looking at loads of paintings over my life. You know, especially the Renaissance. That's a big influence on me. Big influence on my work, and I do take that as a standpoint and then build my lighting quality up from there. Really.
Very good. That's good. Oh, that was good then. Yeah, like that. That's very good. Good. Very good. Stay there, actually, Lucien, if you can.
In the case of Lucien, our first subject, we were very, very lucky. He's the health and safety officer on the port here. And he looks great, of course, you know, with his hair and his ponytail and his beard and that. So it's good for photography. And secondly, he's so open-minded and so creative that he would help us through the first portrait and get us feeling a little bit more comfortable about ourselves, you know, and about the way we're going to work and feel a bit more at home here, you know. For an Englishman, going to see these dockers first thing in the morning, which we have been doing, is an extraordinary experience. They physically look totally different to us. Their face structures and everything. And I have to admit, they looked a little hard and foreboding, or the situation looked foreboding. And I was rather tentative about my approach towards them. It's like an experience from the past. Little did I realise that the unions were so powerful in France. They're immensely powerful. They can control anything. They control this port down here. This port can't do anything without the say-so from the dockers. Little did I know how warmly they would accept us.
I need perhaps one more, don't I, really?
And how helpful and positive they applied themselves towards our project.
It's great, like working here, we come down, this is our second morning, we're going to come down tomorrow morning as well. This is where we cast our dockers actually for our portraits. They come down every morning in order to get jobs, to work in the port. It's a real pleasure to be here. It's such a struggle in England to do anything. Here it's a sheer pleasure. They respect photography, they love photography, and you can get on with your work, you know. Yeah, we've cast a group of union men that we're going to photograph tomorrow, and we've found 3, you know, dockers to individually photograph. It's down to me, really. You know, I've got no excuses, you know. I can't offer an excuse for failing. because they're just giving you every possibility and every opportunity to do really strong photography. Okay. Fantastic.
Well, I'm trying to put Brian Griffin's stamp on this project. I suppose a lot of it relies on my experience and also the development of digital technology in photography, where I can come away after a day's work, look at what I've done, and then go back again and add to it, just like you go and edit a film, you know, or you add another sequence in your film. So I'm attacking it almost like a film in a way, that it feeds itself, the subject matter does. I didn't really have a complete direction. I had a loose brief, but I didn't really have a direction. I found that direction for myself after meeting the dockers and after really exploring the port itself. It started to feed my imagination.
So funny, everywhere we're photographing, the sun is a front light as opposed to a backlight. Well, it's taken ever such a long time to get down here. There's been a lot of labour struggles down here with the unions and the government. So I've got to sort of sensitise myself a bit to the plight of the dockers down here, you know, what they've been going through with their retirement pay and the French government. And I had to wait months before I could even come down here and have a look around. Oh, it's going to be quite good, I think. You're not quite in the right position, but I think it's going to be quite good. I might cut the railings out, see how he poses, you know. But I adopt the same rules as I've always adopted. Is the fact that, yeah, I can get a situation together, it looks aesthetically pleasing, but I can't supply the magic. Yeah. I don't know what else to do. Problem is, if he just looks towards me a little bit, Isabel. Keeps the pose, keep the pose. I've got to somehow get it from the subject and look at the subject and look at the physical side of the subject, the profile, the front of face, the features, and then like offer something up to that subject and see how they respond. Yeah, that's good actually. It's very.
My image is essentially constructed, and I think about how I'm going to portray the people in my images. Because I'm briefed initially by Marseille Provence 213 that they want big images. It's a big exhibition in a big structure, so the images have to be large, so I have to put power into those images to gravitate people towards them. So I'm thinking about how to construct real powerful images.
Am I doing this right?
I've got to hit you full on with power from images. So therefore, yes, the way the dockers are posed, the way they're lit, is to give them immense power.
Well done. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Merci beaucoup, monsieur. I'm really working here. I'm working here as well about a struggle, really. I see it here as a struggle, really, for the workers, and I'm like depicting that struggle, posing them in a physically dramatic way, really, where as if they're going through some thought pattern or some stress. So I'm depicting them in action of deep thought, really. Great. Lotus songs.
Southern trees bear of strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root.
Well, we're just about to start with another 3 dockers, and decided to have as the background these massive cranes. So there's a relevance to where they're being photographed, relevance to the project. Although it's a little bit confusing aesthetically, I'm definitely going to use these cranes. This time I'm going to see if it'll work. I'll try it. Is to come a little bit low on them and make them look more heroic. Like yesterday we photographed them and we were on their level or just above them. This time I'm going to be below them, so they're like really monumental. Three dockers will be coming this afternoon, and that'll exhaust us. That'll be enough. I mean, not because the dockers are exhausted, they're not, they're wonderful men. But, you know, the amount of effort we have to put into each portrait will exhaust us after three.
And the sudden smell of burning flesh.
I was listening to a really great album today of protest songs, you know, about the unions, you know, and the workers, and that is called The Little Red Book of protest songs. And we were driving here this morning about 6:30. Workers being abused and misused, and really fabulous album. Music, blues and gospel and folk from the 20s and 30s in America. Really appropriate to this job here.
I grew up in a working class community. My father was a union man. I was a union man when I was very young and worked in the factory. Everybody that surrounded me were union people. So I grew up amongst people that were heavily involved in the unions. I grew up in a labour area, a very hard, formidable area the Black Country was. They totally voted Labour. So the union situation wasn't new to me.
That should... it's great, that, isn't it?
Moi, je suis plutôt de nature timide, mais il a su me convaincre de participer à ce travail-là avec sa personnalité et puis sa sympathie. Donc, j'ai accepté sans problème, quoi. Et avec qui on a pris plaisir à travailler parce qu'il est vraiment passionné par son métier et au travers des séances photos, il nous intéresse et il nous transmet sa passion parce qu'on voit qu'il est très très motivé pour arriver à un super résultat.
When I get a group, I know that I need a fair amount of lights. But also we understand shadows and we understand mystery in groups. So therefore, a lot of our groups, we don't actually expose all the faces beautifully and open. Some faces are quite dark, other faces are more open than others, and it gives a great depth and brings in a sense of mystery between groups. And I can play on the personality between individuals in that group by how I light them and how I position them. And I have to make a decision on how I demonstrate that. Sometimes I put them in the center of the group. Other times I put them in a powerful position to the side of the group, but their presence is felt by my positioning of them and the expression on their faces and the way they're looking or not looking towards the camera and looking at elements within the group. I have to be extremely sensitive when I'm photographing people to pick up
Here we go.
their personalities and their mannerisms. I have to watch it like a hawk, really, and then use it.
Wow. I think that's it, isn't it, James? That was a great one.